music world, R&B legend D'Angelo has passed.
You know, once you rub heads with snakes and, you know, you get jaded.
You never want to be at a place where you feel like you've arrived. It's always an upward incline.
It was D'Angelo's voice, low, calm, and deliberate. There was a stillness in his tone, but a weight in his words that carried years of struggle and soul. He spoke slowly, almost like a prayer. "If this is the last time you hear from me," he said, "know I finally found peace." No one in that moment could have known that this would be his last message, the final recording from a man whose music once healed generations. Yet, in the wake of his death, those words echo louder than ever. Because when you really listen, when you sit in the silence between his breaths, you realize D'Angelo wasn't just saying goodbye. He was revealing something deeper, something the industry had spent decades trying to bury. His message wasn't only about finding peace, it was about breaking free from the machine that had drained the life out of him.
When you get into the business, you really don't know what it's about until you get into it.
D'Angelo was never meant to fade early, not him, not the man who single-handedly resurrected soul music when it was on life support. In 1995, when Brown Sugar dropped, everything changed. He came out raw and fearless. No gimmicks, no glitter, no pretense. The sound was timeless, but the spirit was urgent. He sang about black love, vulnerability, faith, and pain in a way the world hadn't heard since Marvin and Curtis. His voice carried warmth, but his message was rebellion. He wasn't just making songs. He was reminding the world what soul really sounded like. And then came Voodoo, the album that didn't just make waves, it split the sea. It was more than music, it was prophecy. The rhythm was ancestral, the lyrics spiritual, and the emotion almost too real to handle. It was D'Angelo at his purest and his most haunted. Because behind the velvet tone and flawless grooves was a man unraveling under the weight of fame and expectation. Behind the genius production was something darker, an ache, a weariness, a shadow creeping in on his light. That whisper he left behind, it wasn't just a farewell, it was a warning, a confession.
You know what I'm saying? This is like a funk album, man. The natural progression from soul, the next step to soul was funk. Early slide, a lot of early James Brown, a lot of early Funkadelic, Parliament, you know what I'm saying? A lot of early progression when the music was just starting to change.
And a final truth from a man who gave everything to bring soul back to life.
Doing something different. It was funny because when I first dropped Voodoo, a lot of people didn't like it initially because it was different than Brown Sugar.
Only to have the industry slowly take his in return.
Basically didn't know how to handle or to accept everything that happened. So, and then to just seeing everything. Because before you get into the business, you really don't know what it's about until you...
D'Angelo never wanted to be what the music industry tried to turn him into. A sex symbol, a fantasy, a brand.
Sugar, when you're close to me, you love me right there.
He didn't care about image or fame. All he ever wanted was to make real music, the kind that healed people the same way it healed him. But the industry doesn't reward authenticity. It doesn't celebrate truth tellers. It manufactures products. And once D'Angelo refused to play by their rules, the machine started breaking him down piece by piece. After Voodoo, he disappeared. No tours, no interviews, no new music, just silence. Fans were confused and the rumors started flying. Some said he'd lost his mind. Others whispered about addiction. A few claimed fame had destroyed him. But years later, in what would become his final message, D'Angelo made it clear. He wasn't running from fame itself. He was running from what fame does to people. He belonged to a rare generation of artists who weren't chasing hits. They were chasing truth. Erykah Badu, Lauryn Hill, Maxwell, Jill Scott. Together, They built something bigger than radio charts. It was called neo-soul, not just a genre, but a rebellion. They were reclaiming black music from corporate control, bringing back emotion, vulnerability, and honesty. Their mission was to make love through art, not noise for profit. And that terrified the industry, because when artists start owning their message, the people in power start losing theirs. When artists start making people think, they stop being easy to control. And that's exactly what happened to DAngelo. He didn't play the industry's game. He refused the interviews, the fake smiles, the flashy outfits. He didn't care about chasing chart numbers or headlines. He just wanted to stay real. But in the business of fame, honesty is a threat. And once DAngelo stopped playing along, the system that once praised him turned against him fast. Suddenly, he wasn't the genius everyone loved. He was difficult. He was unreliable, crazy. The same people who had called him a legend started labeling him a problem. But he wasn't crazy at all. He was awake. And that's what makes his final message hit so deep. In his last recordings, quiet personal tapes that were never meant for release, DAngelo spoke openly about what it costs to tell the truth in an industry built on lies. They tell you to sing, he said, but they never tell you what you're really singing for. They say you're free, but the moment you own yourself, they call you dangerous. Then came the line that chills anyone who's heard it. I know too much to stay and too little to leave. That single sentence summed up his entire battle. He loved music, but hated the business behind it. He loved the people, but couldn't stomach the politics. He wanted to heal the world with his sound, but the process kept breaking him down. So he stepped away into the shadows, into silence. Years of depression, addiction, and isolation followed. But even when the world thought he was gone, he never stopped creating. His pain became his pen. And then came Black Messiah in 2014, his triumphant, unapologetic return. It wasn't smooth or pretty like Voodoo. It was raw. It was fierce. It was DAngelo stripped down to his truth. Angry, awake, and unafraid. Black Messiah wasn't just an album. It was a statement. A man reclaiming his soul from the machine that tried to own it. DAngelo wasn't just making music. He was speaking truth. Every lyric, every note, every pause was a message about injustice, corruption, and identity. He was calling out a system that profits off pain and disguises it as entertainment. When he sang, he wasn't only talking about himself, he was giving voice to generations of black artists who had been chewed up and forgotten by the same industry they helped build. But what no one expected was what he left behind in his final months. As his health began to fade, DAngelo started recording a series of voice notes, raw, unfiltered reflections. They weren't meant for radio or fans, they were for the truth. He told those close to him, "This isn't a song. This is what I've learned." One of those recordings would later become known as his final message. In it, he said something that still shakes people who hear it. They call it the music business, but the music died the day business came first. That wasn't a lyric, that was a confession. Because for DAngelo, music was never about fame or money, it was about healing, for himself and for others. Watching an industry that once celebrated soul turn into a factory that sold struggle broke his heart. He saw the shift, he felt it, and he couldn't pretend anymore. He wasn't tired of life. He was tired of pretending that everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. In that same recording, you can hear him laugh. Not the loud, joyful kind, but a soft, tired laugh. The kind that comes when a man has made peace with himself. And then he said, "They told me I could have everything, but all I ever wanted was peace." That line hits like a punch to the gut because you realize this wasn't just a farewell message, it was liberation. A man freeing himself from expectations, from contracts, from the image the world built for him. When news of his death broke, the world was heartbroken. But those closest to him, they weren't surprised. They said DAngelo had been preparing for this moment, not because he was giving up, but because he wanted to be understood before he left. He wanted people to finally see what it had cost him to be DAngelo, the genius, the perfectionist, the savior of soul. His final message wasn't really about dying. It was about living, truly living. It was about breaking free from labels, not just the record labels that owned his sound, but the labels society puts on people. Celebrity, genius, idol. DAngelo was tired of being all that. He just wanted to be human again. DAngelo's final message was about choosing peace over profit, purpose over performance, and soul over success. If your art doesn't free you, it owns you, he once said. Words that hit differently now. His life was a fight for freedom, even when the world mistook that fight for failure. His message forces us to ask what we truly value. We celebrate the music but ignore the pain. Post tributes but forget the struggle. Love the art but destroy the artist. DAngelo was trying to break that pattern. He didn't want to be remembered as a legend, but as a man, one who loved, lost, and left behind truth. In a handwritten note, he wrote, "They called me DAngelo, but my mama called me Michael. Michael just wanted to sing. That line strips away the fame and reveals the boy from Richmond, Virginia, who believed music was prayer. Even when the world tried to turn his prayers into profit, he never stopped believing. His last message wasn't a scandal or a secret. It was a reminder that real music heals, connects, and tells the truth." One of his close friends said, when he talked about peace, he meant it. Not money or silence, but letting go of everything that wasn't love. That's what DAngelo wanted us to understand. Love is the only thing that lasts. Near the end of his recording, you can hear him hum, then whisper, "The world don't need another superstar. It needs another soul that's free." Then came silence. A silence that said more than any lyric ever could. Fans now debate what his final words meant. Some say it was a warning, others say acceptance. But those who knew him believe it was simply peace. He'd fought, he told his truth, and he finally let go. DAngelo's story reminds us that being real in a fake world takes courage, and that those who vanish aren't lost. They're just done pretending. His message changes everything. How we see fame, how we treat artists, how we define success. Because if success cost your peace, was it ever worth it? His body may be gone, but his spirit lives on. In every lyric, every chord, every artist brave enough to tell the truth. And maybe that's the real message. All right, not goodbye, but wake up. Wake up to what matters. Wake up to your peace. In his final note, DAngelo wrote 5 unforgettable words. "I am finally free now." Maybe that's the most beautiful ending of all. This is buzz and drama. We don't chase rumors, we chase the truth behind the noise. Like, subscribe and drop your thoughts below. What did DAngelo's last message mean to you? Because one thing's certain, the music may have stopped, but the message will live forever.